This nightmare may finally end. I'm better.
Your pain will be endless. Away they go!
Hey guys, how's it going? Taki here. New video for you guys today. This is gonna be a guide for my Energy Blade Berserker that I've been playing for the first week of Scourge League as my league starter. This build has amazing clear speed and is also great for endgame bossing with high DPS and tanky enough to eat Shaper Slams. The main skill I'm using is Lightning Strike because it has a really good AoE as well as insane single target DPS when using Vaal Lightning Strike on bosses. But if you want, you can try some other skills like Blade Flurry or Static Strike, but I decided to go with Lightning Strike and I think it's probably the best skill to use for this Energy Blade shell. I started off as just life based and using a regular weapon and Trinity support like a more traditional Lightning Strike build, until I had enough currency to switch to more energy shield based gear and go 100% lightning damage with Energy Blade and using Doryani's prototype to negate resistances. Getting Corrupted Soul from either a Glorious Vanity or a Replica Soul Tether is also pretty key in order to get enough ES to make Energy Blade worth using. So it does take a little bit of investment before you can make good use of Energy Blade. So unless you have a decent starting capital, I recommend you do what I did and use a regular weapon like a Rebuke of the Vaal or an Elemental Foil and stay life based until you can afford a Doryani's prototype, Glorious Vanity Jewel, and a Crown of the Inward Eye. I will include a skill tree, some gem links and some notes for a pre-Energy Blade setup in the path of building. And I want to say this is one of my favorite builds that I've ever played. It's a lot of fun and very strong with a medium level of investment. I've gotten to level 100 with this already and cleared most of the endgame content pretty easily. And I will put a Deathless, Uber Elder and Awakener 8 at the end of the video. I hope you guys will enjoy the video, and if you do, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so this is the character, Taki Blades, level 100 Berserker in Scourge League. So I want to start off by talking a little bit about Energy Blade. So it says grants a buff which significantly lowers your maximum energy shield to transform or equipped weapons into swords formed from that energy. Casting the spell again removes the buff. Non-bow, this cannot be triggered. So basically what it does is it grants 50% less maximum energy shield. So it'll half your energy shield, and then from that energy shield that remains, it will give you a weapon that has lightning damage equal to, as you can see, minimum damage 2% of energy shield plus 12 and the maximum 40% of energy shield plus 235 at level 20. And it also has a little bit extra crits. So the way it works, you have a weapon, you press it, and it turns into Energy Blade. And as you can see, it has 1.7 attack speed. The lightning damage is based off of your energy shield. You see my ES went down to 2k now. And then it has 10% crit from quality. And then I have it with enhanced, so it has extra quality, ending up with 22% extra crit chance for me. So yeah, that's how Energy Blade works. It replaces your current weapon with the same sockets and everything, and gives you this as a new one. But yeah, I want to start off by talking a little bit about the skill tree, I guess. For the Ascendancy nodes, I'm taking Flawless Savagery for some crit multi and crit chance, and also a little bit of fist damage, and 60% of that gets converted. Blitz for a lot of attack speed. Crave the Slaughter gives us Rage and maximum Rage. And Rite of Ruin triples the effects of having Rage and gives us cannot be stunned while you have at least 25 Rage. So this is really nice for like mapping. You can use a setup with Warbringer that allows you to have more Berserk uptime, but I prefer this setup. It does require you to take some like this Warcries have a minimum of 10 power, and like General's Cry and some extra stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, I prefer this setup. You can still press Berserk when you need to, and on bosses and things like that. But for the regular tree, you want to take... Well, so this is a level 100 tree, so you're not going to have all of this. You're going to probably maybe cut some of this, some extra nodes. But yeah, what you want to take is like life nodes, crit nodes, some sword nodes, these fortify nodes, some ES nodes, life nodes. These reservation nodes are really nice. I will include in the path of building some different trees for different levels, as well as a tree for when you are not using Energy Blade. Like if you can't afford all these items that give you a lot of energy shield, and Doryani's prototype can also be a little bit expensive before you use that. You're probably gonna be using something like this, Hion's Fury, or like Rebuke of the Vaal for Trinity. But yeah, I'll include that in the path of building if you want to take a look at it. But this is the end game setup and the level 100 tree. And yeah, we're taking. Yeah, I should talk a little bit about the keystones. We have Divine Shield. It just gives us a little bit of regen when you get hit, and Glancing Blows together with Versatile Combatant. That gives us 50% chance to block both attack and spell damage just based of the block that we have on our shield. And the reason I want that is because we are using this Aegis Aurora, which gives us 2% of armor as energy shield replenished when you block. So in order to regain our ES, to sustain our ES, we want that 50% block as well as this. And yeah, we are also taking Corrupted Soul, which is given from the Glorious Vanity with Doryani on it. That's the only jewel other than the Watcher's Eye. You can also take another one and like get Corrupting Blood on it for like Sirus. If so, you would probably like remove this crit node and this life node. If you're doing it Siri, you can take the 60% reduced reflected elemental damage taken. But yeah, that's about it for the tree, I think. Oh yeah, I should talk a little bit about the Thread of Hope I'm using. So I'm taking Disciple of the Unyielding, Disciple of the Slaughter, Retaliation, Versatile Combatant, and this Life and Mana Leech node. So this is where you get your Life and Mana Leech. Before you get Thread of Hope, you will anoint this over here, Clever Thief, for your Life and Mana Leech. And yeah, I'm taking this Versatile Combatant. That's what really gives us the spell block from Glancing Blows. But yeah, with just these two and the shield that we're using, we're getting capped spell and attack block. This one is just a little more damage and defenses. And yeah, this is where we get our Frenzy charges, as well as some extra damage and one minimum Frenzy charge. And this gives us a minimum Endurance charge. Now, Endurance charges, also Endurance charge and kill, of course, but Endurance charges does give us lightning resist. It gives all res. So that is a little bit of a downside, but I still think it's worth it for the mitigation that we get. Yeah, you could make the argument that you don't want to take this, but yeah, I think it's worth it. But up to you, really. You still want to take this Thread of Hope here for some of these great ways to get Leech and Frenzy charges, because you don't really want to use Blood Rage. It's a bit bad with Energy Shield when we don't leech any Energy Shield. We get it when we block and when we take damage, right? So yeah, this is a really nice Thread of Hope over here. Thread of Hope also lowers our resist for Doryani's prototype, so yeah, that's really good. But yeah, let's take a little closer look at some of the gems that we're using. I already explained how Energy Blade works, so but yeah, we're using Enhance with that to get more quality, to get higher crit on our sword. But for our main links, I'm using Lightning Strike with elemental damage with attacks, increased critical strikes, increased critical damage, multi-strike, and inspiration. Pretty self-explanatory, just more damage, more crit, multi, faster attack speed basically, and more elemental damage, less mana cost, and increased critical strikes. That's it for the main link, pretty self-explanatory I think. Vaal Lightning Strike, you pop this down on bosses, you can get 2 stacks of it, pop that down on bosses, pop Berserk, get your totems up, which we are using Ancestral War Sheaf, Ancestral Protector with Culling Strike and multiple totems, so you can have both up at the same time. 2 of 1 and 1 of 1. Then we are also using Chain Hook and Hydrosphere. Like this before bosses to build our rage. Can be pretty. Can be a pretty good trick to get your rage up right before engaging a boss. And then we're using Molten Shell with increased duration on left click to get more EHP and some armor. You can put it somewhere else if you don't want it on your left click. I just think it's easier that way. You do have like pretty good uptime on it either way. And then for the auras, I'm using Precision for crit and accuracy, Defiance Banner and Determination for a bunch of armor, Purity of Eyes and Discipline. Yeah, so the Discipline, more ES, which equals more damage and also more EHP. The Purity of Eyes, I'm using that mainly because I'm using this 9% of fist damage taken as cold damage while affected by Purity of Eyes. So that gives us 4 max res, along with this one gives us 5, meaning we're at 84 cold res and we're taking 9% of fist damage taken as cold. So we're really tanky against cold damage as well as fist damage because of all this armor and 9% taken as cold. So that's what lets us tank like Shaper Slams without any problems. Now on the other hand, fire resist, we don't have any max fire res, so you are pretty weak against fire. So you could use Purity of Fire instead, with and then you can use a Watcher's Eye with fist damage taken as either cold or fire, either Purity of Ice or Purity of Fire. I just decided to stack it and be weak against fire, but I think both of those are fine choices. I think possibly it's better to even go with Purity of Fire to have more balanced defense. And for the lightning res, you can see we have really low lightning res, so that's because of the Doryani's prototype. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, our defenses are pretty skewed against cold and fizz, and pretty weak against lightning and fire, I would say. And some of the last links, I'm using faster attacks and leap slam for mobility. And Berserk it just gives us a bunch of movement speed, attack speed, more damage, and less damage taken. It's really good to just pop it on. Like, you're usually just gonna pop this on bosses, like map bosses. Maybe some tough rares sometimes, but then you fall to 0 rage, and generally you wanna not press it all the time. Press it when you need it. But yeah, I think that's about it for the links. Let's take a look at some of the gear. So Doryani's prototype has nearby enemies have lightning resistance equal to yours. So that's where you just want to tank your lightning res, get it as low as possible, and then the enemy has the same lightning resist as you. But so that you don't die instantly from lightning damage, it also has armor applies to lightning damage taken from hits, and lightning resistance does not affect the lightning damage taken. So that's why we're stacking so much armor from like Determination and Defiance Banner, is because not only does it protect us from fist damage, but from lightning damage as well. So yeah, that's it's a really great item, very unique, really cool. It's an awesome item. And we're also benefiting from armor due to this item, which gives us replenishes energy shield by 2% of armor when you block. So that's another reason why you want to have a lot of armor. And then we have a Crown of the Inward Eye, which gives us a bunch of max life, mana, and global energy shield, as well as some damage based on those things. Yeah, it's just really great for a hybrid build like this one. And we have Lightning Strike pierces 3 additional targets on it, which is really good for clear speed. You need some type of pierce, so I would recommend getting it on this. You can also get a jewel, the Poacher's Aim jewel, but you don't really want to be using that in the end game. And then we have Choir of the Storm with lethality allocated. That's this one, which is just crit and crit multi. And the amulet itself has 60% increased lightning damage when you have 20% quality on it, 50% base, and 30% minus to lightning resistance. So this is just to get lower lightning res, which then our enemy gets as well. So that's a pretty good one. Then we have an Assassin's Mark ring to boost our crit. You just want to get some like attributes on rings, some life. I have this mana craft to help sustain our mana cost while having a really low mana. Then I have just some pretty mediocre rares, really. You just want fire res and cold res on your gear, obviously. You can't have any lightning res on your gear, that's just gonna gimp your damage. And then you just want as much energy shield and life as possible, really. Energy shield boosts our effective HP as well as our damage, so we're scaling a lot of energy shield, a lot of life. So yeah, the rares are gonna look something like this. Obviously, if you could get a Mage Blood or a Headhunter, you would use that instead. Some elemental damage with attack skills is nice. Attributes, again, it's pretty attribute heavy. We are having some you want like 155 int, I'm just 1 over, and pretty high dex as well. But yeah, that's about it for the gear, I guess. Moving on to the flasks. So we have Bottle Faith, which is an expensive item. It's like 10x. If you remove this, this is probably worth as much as the rest of the gear combined, if not more. So if you want a cheaper build, just remove this and use a diamond flask instead, or something like that. Because the rest of the gear really isn't very expensive at all. The Doryani's prototype can be a little expensive, but you can 6-link it pretty easily with this one, Stitched Wounds. Yeah, I don't think it's that expensive even to get a 6-link actually. But as you can see, none of my gear is like corrupted or scourged, and I'm not using any awakened gems, so there's still a lot of room to scale this character even higher. And this is yeah, pretty budget gear, I would say, other than the Bottle Faith. So yeah, you can use something else for the Bottle Faith if you can afford it. And for the rest of the flasks, just a life flask with instant seething divine life flask, a granite flask, a quicksilver flask, and a silver flask for onslaught, movement speed, armor, again really important. And then you want some like ailment immunity, some bleeding immunity. That's gonna come a lot from your Pantheon as well. Like, you want to be using this Soul of the Brine King for the cannot be frozen and reduced effect of shield, as well as some stun immunity when you don't have any rage. That's okay as well. So you want to be using Soul of the Brine King with the Litanus. And for the minor ones, you're gonna switch around based on what you're doing. So if you're doing something that can shock you, like maybe Sirus, you might want to be using this. If you're doing at Siri, you want to be using this for the Reflect, and the reduced effect of curses is also nice in like curse maps. Unaffected by burning ground can be really good for blight, and the restoration of ignite. Yeah, it's really gonna depend on what content you're doing. The life regen from this can be nice as well. yeah, you have to adapt it to what you're playing against. Same with your flasks, really. Sometimes you want shock immunity and ignite immunity, whatever it might be on your flasks, poison immunity. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I'm gonna leave you with a Deathless, Uber Elder, and Awakener 8 at the end of the video. Thanks for watching.
Putrefy, rot, spoil, and fester.
Exile, do something!
My mana is gone. Cannot do this yet. You are nothing.
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention.
Watch beauty crumble.
They became reliant on me. Not so foolish. Die.
I have seen your
Be silent.
Why run? What's the point? Watch guilty crumble.
Of death, my heart races. I am
I have seen beyond everlasting fire. Is seen beyond everlasting fire.
feel the thrill of
The void beyond there is only horror.
I cannot do this.
Everlasting fire.
feel the thrill of
The void is gold. Everlasting fire. Is gold. Everlasting fire.
feel the thrill of
The void I have seen beyond everlasting fire.